Mark Stern, Capital Hoops. Today, I have a very special guest. This is Darryl Woods, founder and executive director of Coaches vs. Racism, a national 501c3 nonprofit who will be in the DMV next weekend as he is bringing a high-level college basketball game, the University of Michigan versus Prairie View A&M, as part of Coaches vs. Racism, a mission he feels very strongly about. And today we're going to talk a little bit about his mission, about this basketball game, about some DMV guys coming home, and Hunter Dickinson and Terrence Williams. And I'm really excited to talk to you for a few minutes, and excited to meet you in person in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, man. Hey, thanks for having us, man. We we decided to put on this event, and it's been nothing but love across the board in terms of support and that sort of thing. So we're bringing the event to the DMV with certain goals in mind, and what the one thing that we want to try and do in our messaging is to bridge the racial divide through sports, something that we all feel passionate about. So we just want to transfer that passion into some other causes that mean the most to people.
Talk to me about the evolution of feeling strongly about a cause, as in systemic racism, and then having like a plan of action to really, bring a high level college basketball game. I mean, there's so many pieces to this puzzle, but tell me about the evolution of your beliefs and the mission, and then kind of bringing it full force with this big basketball game.
Yeah, Mark, that's a pretty good question. Just because the evolution of it didn't start, overnight. It didn't happen overnight. I, along with 5 other of my close friends, actually my college teammates, we're still very tight and talk, regularly about different topics, and we have Zooms and all these other things as a group. And one of the conversations came up several years back. This is pre-George Floyd, pre COVID and all that, came up, like, how can we have an event, not just an event of a game, but have some some meaningful impact. Okay, so this has been in the works in terms of just conversation for some years. Okay, and we just felt like, fast forward to next week, it all kind of culminates to to present itself to be on a stage with 2 high-level basketball teams to create a platform to have some meaningful discussions. Okay, whether that's social injustice, systemic racism, reform, equality, the economic divide. There's so many different topics that we want to talk about, and the game just allows us to have that platform for those discussions. Okay, and within that, we'll have centered around the game, tours, some educational tours for student athletes, a coaches symposium, a panel to have some meaningful discussion. And then, we'll enjoy ourselves too in entertainment, have like a VIP reception, and talk about some of the things that, we like to talk about.
Excellent. And how did Washington, D.C. become the host venue for that? Was that
that was a little strategic. Yeah. So we just felt like all the policies and things that are geared for change kind of starts in Washington. With obviously the president's house is there. So we felt like Washington being the center point of policy and change would spark a little bit more, have a little bit more punch to what we're trying to do in terms of messaging, and start those conversations, as opposed to having it on somewhere on the West Coast first, right? So that was strategic. and helping plan that. And then on top of that, University of Michigan has a couple players that are from that area.
Right.
If we can help in that, and they can help in terms of being high character guys and role models for the next generation, then we're just more than happy to help host that and bring that thing together.
So that's a good segue into the basketball element of this conversation. So tell me how the two teams came about. How did Michigan and Prairie View, how were they named the opponents in this matchup?
Yeah, well, so like I said before, off air, we started with probably 6 teams, then decided that inaugurally we want to focus in on a few other elements and not let it be just about basketball, even though that's why we're all coming together. So I've known Juwan Howard, for a while. I know what kind of character guy he is. I know how he has his teams prepared. Same thing with Coach Byron Smith from Prairie View A&M, and being a high character guy, having his teams prepared. And those guys are 2 of the guys that I really respect in terms of telling it like it is to their players, to their fans, to their parents, and that sort of thing. And they're always been held in high regard. Okay, so with all those elements being what they are with those 2, and we started with the coaches, right? We started with the coaches, and then worked our way down from there. Like, we didn't look at like who you have on your team as opposed to the leader of your team, which is the coach, right? And so that weighed heavily on our decision to pit these 2 teams together for competition. Okay, and then again, there's some other things that centered around the game, that I mentioned before. So, and those guys are all bought into what we're trying to do, and bought into what our messaging is going to be. And so it was an easy decision, to be honest.
I know when you're putting a basketball event on, logistics can be a nightmare. It's a very daunting task to kind of bring all the pieces together. How has that been going for you?
Well, I'll say this, Mark. I've learned a lot. I've I've been in the sports marketing and entertainment arena for over 20 years, and I told myself this first year, this has been inaugural, so this is not a one-off game. So I said my first year, I want to know everything that goes on behind the scenes to run an event like this. Okay, that's from talking to Ticketmaster and their front office person to the person that actually printing their tickets. That's also from the sponsorships and how that works, with the media and media buys and radio buys. Okay, all the communication that goes on behind the scenes, what the security guy needs to know, like who's sitting in what seats, everything under the sun. I said, I'm going to dive in this year and have a working knowledge of everything that goes on. Now, I'll never do it again in terms of the operation side.
Right.
But at least I will know if someone comes to me with a question or something, I will definitely know how to put that fire out if that's the case. Okay, so it's a daunting task operationally. Getting and putting teams together is fairly simple, because we're just leaning on relationships and having these guys play for a good cause.
Gotcha. So I know you had mentioned that there's some educational components to this. There's a symposium. So what's kind of the schedule like for the teams? I know the game is Saturday at 8 p.m., right?
Yeah.
So I assume they come in town Thursday or Friday. And
yeah, so Michigan does. Michigan will get in a day early. Okay. Because they don't have a game. Prairie View they'll be coming from the West Coast, so they'll get in the day before the game. Okay. So they'll do a typical road game routine. They'll have their morning practice, lunch, and then we'll have in between that we'll have a tour of the Smithsonian African American museum. Then they'll do, dinner after that on Friday. So it'll be a normal, like, a normal schedule. We want to keep it as normal as possible for student athletes and make sure that they, with some educational pieces thrown in there, that they don't get off routine. Because as you know, these guys are, especially the coaches, they're stickler for routines, man. They, especially if someone like Juwan has played, 100 years in the NBA, he's all about routine.
Right.
So, and I know he preaches that to his players, and so is Coach Smith. He's a very, thorough guy, routine guy. So we wanted to keep that, that routine as close as possible. And at the same time, like I said, just throw in a couple of agenda items that educationally that the student athletes can benefit from. That being the tour, the coaches symposium, which is the panel, and then we'll end with the VIP reception.
So, question for you: with the tour and the VIP stuff, are these events where both teams' players are there simultaneously, and there's like some commingling between them, or do they kind of keep them separate? I'm curious how that works.
Yeah, so the tour, it would be commingling for sure.
Okay.
And we did that strategically too. And that's part of our mission, is to, be able to talk to a person that you never met.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's kind of like the elevator theory. Like, if you ever get on the elevator and it's 10 people on there that don't know each other, I mean, it's crickets. You don't hear anything, every once in a while you'll get a guy or someone to say something or hello. Other than that, it's crickets, man. You don't hear anything. So what we wanted to do is that's part of our mission, like I said, to have, people uncomfortable initially, but then there's a level of comfort once you get to know someone. Okay. And sports is probably one of the few things that is able to do that, where you can have two people that have zero in common initially, but all of a sudden you sit next to a person and you guys are cheering for the Chiefs together, or the Bears, since I'm a Bears fan, or the Bears, right? So,
Gotcha.
so yeah, so there'll be a little commingling there with the tour and those sort of things, and the teams are staying in the same hotel. And we have a hospitality room where the student athlete can go in and out and get sandwiches and snacks and things like that. So they'll get a chance to meet each other and that sort of thing. Yeah. So, but they're not allowed for the VIP reception, because that's, even though some of these guys are adults, this is more, they're older adults.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to ask you is, what are your goals? I know we're 10, 11 days away. If you had to sit here right now and say, when this is all said and done, I hope to have this, and this accomplished, what are the main things that are important to you that kind of get checked off that list?
I think the main thing for us is that, we use this platform to bring about awareness. Okay. I think awareness is one of the key elements and putting on an event like this for us. Okay. So, because sometimes just people just aren't aware, Mark, about, how someone else was raised, or why someone else could be, racist, or a certain way that they are. And we're just not aware of why that happens. So I think awareness and education is a long way. So goes a long way. So if we could somehow put a dent in, bringing that awareness gap and shrinking that awareness gap and broadcasting this, so I'm so happy that it's on, a national network, because it does allow us to reach, more people than just in the DMV, or just the people that attend the University of Michigan, or just the people that attend Prairie View A&M. The Big Ten is a national network, so we'll reach, West Coast. While we're playing the game on the East Coast, people on the West Coast will definitely tune into this, because it's an 8 o'clock game, but that's 5 o'clock on the West Coast on a Friday.
Yeah.
on a Saturday, excuse me. Yeah. So, but yeah, so the awareness is a big piece. I would say if we could come off successfully with positive messaging and creating our awareness piece, I feel really good about that.
Excellent. Well, Darryl, thank you. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on as again, we're approaching the day that that you've been waiting for with all the planning and everything that goes into this. So I appreciate you taking a little time to talk to me. And I look forward to meeting you in person and you know, seeing everything that you've got in store.
Okay. All right. Good, man. Again, thanks for having us. I really appreciate it. You know, and you know, let's see if everyone can show up for the game for a good cause and support us. So if there's any questions or anything like that, you know, we have a website with tons of information.
Yeah, what's the website?
It's www.coachesvsversusracism.org. So that's coachesversusracism.org.
Okay. And then you guys have social media. I know I was on your Twitter and Instagram earlier today. I'll put a link to that in this.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
if people want to buy tickets, I assume Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
You alluded
Yeah.
to.
So there's a link right there on the website, right on the front page. You can buy tickets there. You can donate. You could do so many different things there. So it's very interactive, very meaningful. And it's still being built out. So don't judge. Just tell the webmasters not to judge, because you know webmaster guys are really, really good and they like to tweak a lot. So, but it's a pretty good website. We're happy with it. But yeah, you can contact us. You can buy tickets there, the whole nine.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. Much appreciated. And I'll see you in the DMV in about 10 days.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.